Almost lost the old chainsaw here. It's going for a ride. Hey folks, welcome back. My name's Sandy. This is Sawing with Sandy. Welcome back to the channel. In just a minute, we're going to fire up the Eastonmade Ultra, the wood splitter here behind me, and take care of a few hardwood logs. On the ground here, I have a mixture. I've got some hard maple in here. Looks like some yellow birch there. I'm going to cut that up. That is on the smaller end compared to that stuff over there, which also looks to be mostly birch. I'm going to take care of the small stuff first because I am not feeling too much like taking care of the big stuff. The big stuff is great, but it gets tiring. You roll around the big logs and you have to split it and maneuver it, and well, after time it just gets old. And so I'm going to cut the smaller stuff today. It all burns the same inside, and so that's what we're going to focus on. Now what I'm going to be cutting with today is a saw you probably haven't seen me using all that much. It's still relatively new to me, just hasn't got a lot of use. Holzfforma, the G372XP, supposed to be a replica of a Husqvarna 372. I'll fire that up here today. It's got a 28-inch bar on there, and that's that. Right here, this is what I'm marking my logs with. That's something else you've likely seen before if you've been around the channel. That's the Mingo Marker. I am going to be walking down the logs with that thing rolling, and it'll put a little spray paint mark at my 16-inch marks. That thing there, you can adjust it so it's got different increments that it sprays at. 16 inch is a good length for firewood for me, for my wood stove, and so that's what we're going with. As I mentioned before, this is the Eastonmade Ultra. This is what we're using here today. If you've been around, you know exactly what this setup is. It's just a robust, fast wood splitter. 14 horsepower Kohler on there. Interchangeable 2-way and 4-way wedge. The 4-way wedge I just have sitting here between the rails to trailer it out here, but this goes where this does if you want to use it. You can see at the bottom there, pins in place. The tongue here, removable, right? I'll probably end up removing it here in just a minute. And aside from that, you've just got your controls up here, and you go to town. So I'm going to put these IBC cages on my right at the end of that table. I'll split the wood, put it into the IBC cages. Eventually it'll make its way out there, and eventually that'll heat my home and, well, maybe make some maple syrup in an evaporator, but we'll see how far we get. So that's the task at hand today. Before we get any farther, I just want to take a moment and thank all of you who stopped me while I was walking around recently in Boonville, New York at the New York State Woodsman's Field Days. That was my very first time going to a logging or a forestry expo, and talking with many of you made it that much better. It was a great experience. Not only did I see like all the cutting edge equipment, dreamed of some massive logging equipment, sat in it and talked to industry experts, but I also got to talk to experts like you guys. We chatted about all my projects, chatted about your projects, and that made the overall trip down to New York that much better. So thank you to those of you who stopped me for that. Anyways, that's it for me here today, or at least for right now. Let's get underway. Here we go. Pretty simple design here. See that hole in the bottom? This marking can goes in that hole, and then as that wheel spins, you guys may be able to see that, but see that little piece there? It basically hits that, and then it triggers the nozzle. There we go. Okay, cold start. Real cold. I haven't used it in a while. start. I think it almost went. Another fun outing here with the Ultra. Got my firewood done real quick. Got a bunch more to cut though. The winter is coming, and it's pretty long here in central Ontario. If you guys have been here before, maybe you live here, you know that we get the extremes in climate, or weather that is. Summertime, maybe around this time a little bit earlier, we'll get upwards of 35 degrees Celsius. Not exactly sure what that is in Fahrenheit. I'll put it down here, but upwards of 35 degrees Celsius. In the wintertime, we can get down to negative 35 Celsius. And so I've got to make sure we're ready to go. I've got a fair bit of wood ready. I'll take that very shortly here once the fall rolls around. I'll take it, put it into a wood shed. That way it's covered. In the summertime, late springtime, I just put the wood out here to dry. But in the fall, just before I'm going to use it in the winter, I keep it covered. I don't like to cover wood year round. I know there's probably conflicting points on that, but I don't like to cover it year round. Any rain that falls on it, I find in the summer sun, it evaporates very quickly. Without having it covered, I find it's not only easier on me, but it's easier on storing it. I don't have to have any tarps or maybe any structures or any steel roofing, which is very expensive. I need none of that. So I'm just going to put that one right in line with the other ones. This one I will probably not use this winter if I can help it. Most of that wood in there is relatively green, so we'll let it dry down over next year's summer and use it next winter. So that's it for me. As I mentioned before, this thing's a pleasure to use. If you get a chance to use one thing you'll really notice the height, the working height. It's quite a bit higher than maybe some lesser sawmills, residential style sawmills or wood splitters. They're quite a bit lower, I find. This one's at a good working height. I don't have to bend over very much. And I was using this thing, which is a Pickaroon or Pickaroon. This one I like to use because it makes it so I don't have to bend over to pick up firewood. The firewood rounds, that is, when I get it up here. Great tool to use, very simple. Not a lot to tell you about. It certainly splits the wood and splits it in a hurry. I have yet to find anything it will not split. Stuff today was pretty easy, but when we get into some tough stuff, I'll be sure to bring you along. But I haven't found anything I can't run through that. So that's positive in my books. As I said, that's it for me here today. It's a hot one out here. I'm going to go take shelter. Crazy as it seems, I'm probably going to have a hot sludge and put my feet up, relax for a little bit. Think about what's next on the to-do list. It's a mile long. Winter's coming. Firewood's heading into the shed, so that's priority number one. Guys, take care out there. Be well. Get outside. See you next time.